What's up, bikers? This is your program for the 13th of October. And last week we mentioned that we're going to be moving heavy squats for a while. So there's a bit of preparation that we talked about then. So let's cut to last week's prep part so we don't have to go through it. Our editor can just edit it in and go. So generally what we say is that you do 2 to 5 minutes of steady state cardio to get your heart rate up. And that way then you can start flowing a little bit and start focusing on the target areas that we need to get mobile to get into good positions for the squats. So Pat's going to demo on the box here, just like you're lunging onto a box and then pushing that knee quite far forwards. So what we're trying to do with this position is replicate an extreme bottom position of the squat, but just with one leg, so you can focus a lot of weight into the hip and open out that hip capsule. So pushing the knee forwards, because these squats are going to be very determined by ankle mobility, you can use this as a hip and ankle opener by pushing the knee forwards and out as far as you can. Now Pat can lean further forwards and put his armpit onto his thigh and apply more pressure downwards onto this, and this will help more with ankle. Or you can put both elbows inside of his knee, push that knee out to the side, drop further, and that'll put more emphasis on the hip. And then once you've done that for about 2 minutes that side, swap sides. So that'll be the same, similar on the other side. So that's 4 minutes total. Then you're going to go back to the first side and you're going to get a little bit more dynamic on it. So you're going to push that knee out to the front where it was, but then to the side, and then you're going to bring it back and you're going to do some semicircular motions with that knee, really directed by where your hips are, and you're going to grind this out. Now to add even more benefit to this, would be good if you had a band all the way up to the groin, and this could be attached to a rig. I don't expect that someone's going to be holding this for you. You want a lot of tension on it. So this in a rig, pulling the hip capsule out, is going to help massively. You can do that on the first set of 2 minutes, and then on the second set, sorry Pat, foot back on the second set, that band might be around your ankle, and it's going to really help more with the ankle mobility there. So that's hips done. Then you want to open up the thoracic spine, so you can, because we've set up for a back squat, you can use the bar in the rig, and you can hold the rig, pulling yourself down here. Sorry, Pat, that's what you're here for. So this is a really good one because the position of the bar, the height of the bar is going to be about where you're going to put it for a back squat anyway. So here, you can pull, open up your chest, and then using your hips to guide, keeping your obliques tight, thinking not so much about extending your lower back, but forcing through your upper mid back to get that T-spine nicely opened out. And then once you've done that for 2 or 3 minutes, a couple of times, stepping off, and then just do a set of 20 air squats to start, and then see how you feel. If you need to do more mobility, then think about the awareness of the squat. Is it that you're rounding or anything like that because your awareness is slightly off because you haven't done this type of thing for a while? Or is it that you're genuinely tight and you need to work more time? So if it's hamstrings, you can do some hamstring stretching, mobility, and then, only then when you're prepared, you start loading up for the back squat. Back! Hopefully that worked fine and you saw exactly what to do to warm up for these squats. Today is going to be back squats, sets of 12. So these 12, as with last week's 7s, you're going to work up to a heavy set of 12, not necessarily max. Make sure that you have a rig, a rack if you can, or some kind of spotter pal that'll help you out if you get into a compromising position. Then once you've done your 12, you're then going to reduce the weight to 90% of that 12 and do 2 more sets to get some volume through that back squat. And then we're going to move on to front squats. So cutting in again to last week's front squat demo with variations and hatch squats and whatever else. We're going to move on to front squats. So this is very subjective as to how you do it, depending on mobility, previous injuries, awareness, and how comfortable you feel on your shoulder. So Pat, you just step under the bar and face outwards. So always when you squat, you're going to be looking into the rig. You're not going to bring the bar out this way. This is only for demo purposes. So for the front squats, we haven't really done these very much because of the restrictions that bikers generally have. If you can do it the full front squat way, then perfect. Pat, just go under the bar. So what we're looking for here is a full rack, we call it, on the shoulder. So the bar's weight is on the shoulder here. Elbows are nice and high, cores locked down nice and tight. And then from there, you're not death gripping. It might be tight in your wrists, but this will actually help with flexibility if you can bear it. Now go back in. If you can't get into that position, it might be wrist issues. More than likely, it's flexibility and mobility issues in your shoulder, pec minor and lat that's going to restrict that elbow coming up into that good position. So you can work some of that, see if you can get in that position. We're going to do 5 sets of 5, reasonably heavy. I want you to do the same weight across all 5 sets. This is an assistance movement for the back squats, so it doesn't have to be max. It's not going to crush you, and we will be adding weight over the next 2 weeks. Now, if that's a struggle in that position there are 2 more ways that we can do this before changing the type of squat. The second way is by crossing your arms over, creating that shelf, and using your thumbs to guide the bar. But with this, because the balance point is very central, it's not as stable. But it's much better for the wrists, and it puts the weight out the front so that you can still front squat without all of the mobility needed to do it the traditional way. And the third way is, if either of those feel dodgy, you need to feel a little bit of feedback into the bar and stabilizing it. Bands are fine, you can use belts, something stable. You're going to grip these, push your elbows under, and then stand. And then this way, you get all of the benefits and positions of the front squat without the wrist flexibility needed that might make it too uncomfortable or potentially injury likely on your wrist. So how's that? Traditional front squat, crossed over with thumbs, then bands, and then, and only then, if you can't do any of those, we're going to sub this out for a Zercher squat. The worst part is getting in and out of it. So Zercher squat, weight out the front. It's the same principle as the back squat, but it's going to take all of the pressure off any kind of mobility, but it's going to put quite a lot there onto the inside of the elbow. So as I say, a towel around it or a fatter bar, you're not going to be going as heavy with that. It's a very, very good movement in its own right, but only sub that if you can't do any of the variations of front squats. And back. So those front squats, this week you're going to do 5 by 5 again. So 5 sets of 5, resting as much as you need to in between, hopefully a little bit heavier than last week. But as I said last week, it is assistance movements for the back squat. It's there for some volume and different positions. So don't over-egg the front squats. The quality of the back squats and the weight there is a push. If that's burnt you out and the front squats are then compromised, so be it. Still do 5 sets of 5, a little lighter if you need to, thinking about positions and quality squats. And that's it for part A on day 1. So moving on to the workout. So we're going to be doing some hang power snatches, hang muscle snatches. But before we look at that, let's take a look at shoulder positions and establishing a good position on the bar. So with a PVC pipe or a broomstick, you can even use a band or a towel for this. Go super wide, lock your elbows, pull the bar overhead, and then down the back over the front. Now these are called dislocates, but don't force it to dislocate your shoulder. You want to feel where the tension is and be warming up that overhead position. You can do 15 or 20 of these, and then you can start going a bit sideways on it. And then you can make sure that those shoulders are nice and warm. Because we're not doing a pressing motion with this snatch, but we're doing a rotation through the shoulder, it's important that you hit some end range and some very good positions overhead basically before we start. And then pop the pipe down and make sure that when you do your first rep with the bar only, that you find yourself in a comfortable position overhead. If there's any tight, acute pain in any part of your shoulder or lower back, because it's quite an extended position if you get it wrong, then just be careful, very careful, and consider not using a bar and using a dumbbell instead. Stay safe. Make sure that you get the efficacy of the workout, but not to the detriment of safety. This workout is going to have a new movement in it. So it's very good for riders, the hand positions, very good for the hip. The suggestion is that you use an assault bike for it, so that we're going a quad heavy cardio piece or turbo trainer. That's 10 calories or 40 seconds on the turbo, or if you're running, probably 150 to 200 meters. Then, once you've done that, 10 hang muscle snatch. So, Pat's going to take super care on hinging well and stabilizing through his midline, and the bar is going to come just above his knee here. So that, much like a kettlebell swing, the power comes from the hip and the extension into a very nice position overhead. Now test the position overhead before you start this. If it's very, very difficult to get here, then you can narrow your grip and just hang out the front. So it doesn't mean that you have to lock out over the back. If that means coming forwards a bit, just to stay safe through your shoulders, so be it. But the importance here is that you don't go too heavy. You get nice movement through the hip and follow the momentum through the shoulder and then back on the bike. First round, you'll feel fine. You might feel like you've gone too light, but 5 rounds in, that's going to be potentially compromising if you go too heavy. So 10 calories, 10 hang power snatch, 5 rounds for time. Stay safe, play with that new movement. If you don't feel comfortable with the bar, then use a dumbbell, do 5 hang snatch each side before getting back onto the bike, and that'll keep you safe. Then moving on to core for day 1. Ab mat sit-ups. So the ab mat's there to sit in your lower back, reduce some of the hip flexor of the sit-up. Soles of the feet together, hands behind your head, touching the floor, flat with your arms if you can. This is 1 rep. If you don't have an ab mat, it doesn't matter. Just make sure that you're getting full range and that it's not putting excess pressure on your lower back. If it does, you can hook your feet under something, maybe some dumbbells or a rig or whatever that will stabilize and plant your feet. But this will, of course, add some engagement of the hip flexors and help with that pull outside of that core. You're going to do these for 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off, 8 rounds. This is a traditional Tabata workout. So set a timer, go for it as many reps as you can in those 20 seconds. Only 10 seconds rest in between. Keep going, 8 rounds, should feel super burn, really good for the core. And that's it for day 1. Right, day 2, we're going to start with some heavy deadlifts. It's 10 sets of 3, increasing in weight. This could well lead to a 3 rep max. If so, record it and make sure that's your new 3 rep max. It's not necessarily the intention to do that, but if you're feeling good and you want to go for it, then go for it. Which means being nicely prepared. So Pat's bending over really well here, nice hollow in the back. These extensors on his lower back, this is not him being rounded, it's just that he's had super poor movement patterns in the past, and these are very well developed. So if it looks like he's rounded, it's actually just because of those muscles. So from there, the band is over his head, around his neck, much like a bar would sit on a back squat, on the feet, and then we're doing, this is called a banded good morning. This is going to fire up the hips. You're going to do 15 to 20 of these, and then take the band off, and do 12 back step lunges, but each time nice and long, pushing that knee out to the side, thinking of it as a positional thing rather than just hitting through the reps as a warm-up. Once you've done that and you feel all right, we're going to do some band pull aparts. Band pull aparts. So this is going to fire up the upper mid back. This is going to help with positions whilst you're deadlifting. And then you can do that 2 or 3 times round. So banded good mornings, lunges, band pull aparts. Then get a bar. It's 10 times 3, so 10 sets of 3 deadlifts. But they are working sets. I want all 10 to be within 20% of each other. So let's say, for quick maths, your maximum 3 ends up being 100 kilos. If your first 2 sets were below 80 kilos, that means that you have to do 2 sets on the end to make up 10 sets of 3 within 20%. I hope that makes sense. All right, so nice deadlift setup, strong through the back for position, but stronger through the hamstrings and the glutes, keeping the bar nice and close. We've done deadlifts before. If you need some more tuition on it, we have videos on YouTube and we will be linking some through the website. Stay safe. If you feel compromised, if you feel any sharp pain or anything at all, just stay light, put some volume through, get good movement as a priority and not necessarily maximum weight. And that's it for part 1 of day 2. The workout for today is going to be 3 5-minute AMRAPs, as many rounds as you can in 5 minutes of, first movement, 8 dumbbell cleans, all hips. So it's going to be really good accessory for the deadlifts, putting some volume through, good arm strength.
No bicep curls.
No curl. Well, it's pretty much a legit curl, isn't it? It's a legitimate hippie curl. Functional curling. Once you've done those 8, 4 burpee box jumps. Just stay on one side. If you've got the room to go all the way over, go for it. Otherwise, just stay on the same side and then back to 8 dumbbell cleans. So it's 8 and 4, 8 and 4, as many times as you can round. Once you've done that, you're going to do your rest of 3 minutes. Then you're going to move on to 7 thrusters, 7 pull-ups. You can use dumbbells if you feel compromised with the bar. Thrusters being full depth squats. Nice. Press over the top. Staying safe through your midline. Paying particular attention to the mechanics of the squat. 7 thrusters, 7 pull-ups. These can be kipping pull-ups, not butterfly pull-ups for you CrossFitters out there. Full kipping pull-ups. Nice hips. Good for the shoulders and the lats. If you don't find that kipping pull-ups are your jam, you don't particularly like them because of mobility issues or awareness issues, then feel free to sub them down to strict banded pull-ups, or for this one particularly, jumping pull-ups. So if you can't get the volume through easily with a pull-up of your particular preference, then jumping pull-ups. We do have a scaling option on there on the website. It should be there now, so check that out. Once you've done that, you're going to rest 3 more minutes. Then, after your next 3 minutes rest, you're going to do 15 kettlebell swings. These you can afford to go to the top if your mobility allows it. So nice, powerful hips to drive, all of the momentum up. Once you've done those 15, drop it behind you and do 20 mountain climbers. This is a press up position, much like a plank, and then knee all the way up to make contact with your elbow. It's important that you don't shorten these reps, full range. So once you've done those 20, back on the kettlebell swings for 15. You do as many times round in 5 minutes as you can. And that's the mother of all workouts. Rest a little bit, and then we're going to work some core. Side planks with a pump. 10 sets each side. So you're going to be careful here that you're nicely aligned. You're going to relax through the middle. I don't know what Pat's hand's doing here. Probably holding himself together. You want to try and relax, get a big stretch through and drive up. So spend half the time going down before driving up. So you don't want it to be like a ball against the floor. You want to be nice and controlled. Looking after that spine, looking after all those tension positions so you're never out of tension, just fully flopping about. 10 each side, as many as you can, super good for obliques, lots to do with rotation, and that's it. Day 3, quick general warm-up, pretty much whatever you like, just get your heart rate going, open those hips. Then a couple of rounds of this will be a good warm-up in itself. So stay light, then you want 5 total working rounds of an upended kettlebell press times 5. Last week we did 10 meters of a walk. This week you're going to hold it and do 10-meter walking lunge. So your first working set is likely to be lighter than your final set last week, but it should have been a good guide to see where you got to. Then turn, 5 more presses, and then walking lunge back, and then swap arms. That's going to be very demanding on stability through the shoulder, wrist, but also hips today. Hips, hips, hips. 5 working sets, then moving on to floor press. Did this last week. It's going to be an increase in reps, so probably aim to do the same weight. And we're going to go 15 to 20 reps of a floor press. So handy if you have someone to help you. Pat's got a good technique to get it up. And then we're going to do 3 sets of 15 to 20, making sure that you don't bounce those elbows off the ground. Nice stable positions. Rest as much as you like in between those, and then that's the strength element done for part A. The workout for today is traditional CrossFit conditioning. It's gonna be mega. 400-meter run or 500-meter row or something that'll take you 2 minutes. If that's a turbo trainer, a high pace 2 minutes. Then you're gonna come in, you're gonna hit 20 box jumps. Stay safe on these. I don't want any stacking on the box. If you can do 24 inches for guys, 20 inches for girls, that'd be fantastic. Once you've done that, then go on to 20 wall balls. Priority here is on the squat mechanics and depth. Don't force the depth if you don't have the flexibility to get down there. Don't worry so much about the target. Try and get all of those unbroken. You're going to go around that 20 minutes, as many rounds as you can in that time. Good luck. And the final part of day 3 is a little bit of core, but a little bit of practice too. So this will help you toes to bar. It will obviously help you core as well. Work on, so maybe set a timer for 10 minutes, working on strict toes to bar or straight leg raises. So the hanging is going to be really good for you. Strict. Tight, tight, tight. Tight.
Reset.
Tight, steady, strong gymnast. All the way up. Oh! And steady down. Oh, hold on. Oh. 1. Strict toes to bar or a scaled version of the total height. So wherever that might be, you go where you can feel you're going to get some benefit without pushing too hard. And then control on the way down. So this is very much about grip, control through the shoulder, and particularly around the midline. Spend 10 minutes working on that. And that's it for day 3. Day 4 is back to rowing, 5 times 1,000 meters with 2 minutes rest in between each effort. If you want to do steady state cardio, then work on some mobility. Make it a recovery day. Make sure that you're only doing this if you're recovering well and you have the capacity and the desire to do it at the end of the week. And if you've got any questions, as always, send them through. Pat might be answering some emails. You should have seen the new website. This is being stage released as we speak. So you might see the first stage, some of the new branding and stuff. Give us feedback or don't. We're still going to be pushing forward to try and get the best program and delivery of that program to you. So soon you'll be accessing these on the website and not via email. But more of that to come next week. Happy riding, happy gymming. Peace.